5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, Curtis Tucker here with another episode of the Zoinkies podcast. Actually, this is episode number 2 of the brand new named podcast. And you guys are not only shagheads, but you guys are now zoinkers. So thanks for checking in. Thanks for coming back. I apologize still for not getting on a consistent schedule. I've got to figure out what I'm doing here on this podcast. And once I do, I will get on a regular schedule and we will have some fun episodes. So if you guys are listening to this episode, it's going to be one of those where you might want to check out the video version of it because I'm going to do an unboxing. I'm going to show you guys some things. So you will be able to listen to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. But again, if you want to get the full effect of this podcast, go to curtistucker.com and find this episode, or go to youtube.com/curtistucker and you can watch the episode in the video version there. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I need all the subscribers I can get. And also, if you're listening to this on one of your favorite podcasting apps, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast there. So every time that I do a new episode, you guys will know, and you won't have to wonder because I am so scattered and sporadic. But I promise you, I am working towards doing regular episodes where it will be at least weekly. And I'll be talking about something fun because now it's the Zoinkies podcast. I'm going to try to be talking about groovy things and discovering things, discovering new things, discovering groovy things. Hopefully, each episode teaches you guys something or provides you something you didn't know. And so this episode I'm going to be talking about something that I think is kind of groovy. And a little bit of it has to do with the 70s, which were groovy and all that stuff. And so it's got a bunch of different themes in it. A lot of it's going to be about guitars. So I hope if you're not a fan of guitars, I hope you listen anyway, because the podcast kind of goes along with collecting and our need to collect things that we don't need and things like that. So I'll kind of get into that a little bit. But anyway, so again, this is going to be about guitars, and I'm going to kind of give you my history of the guitars that I've owned over the years, and then somewhere in here I'll show you the guitars that I currently have, and then I will do the unboxing and you guys will see my brand new guitar. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to want to hear from you guys, what things that you guys collect and all that good stuff. So anyway, so let's get into the history of Curtis Tucker's guitars. So so basically, I didn't know a whole lot about guitars, any of that stuff, until Mr. Staten Pettyjohn moved to Enid, Oklahoma around 1974. And he was a guitar playing fool, even in the 6th grade. And not only did he play guitar, but he sang. And so, that was one of the big, huge first memories I remember of Staten, was him singing Sunshine on My Shoulders by John Denver, and then going to a competition over in Tonkawa. But he was always playing that acoustic guitar. And I think he said his grandma had taught him how to play, because I don't think his mom or dad knew how to play. So Staten had an acoustic guitar, and then at some point, and I can't remember if he already had it. It's kind of fuzzy there. He'll have to remind me. But somewhere in those early stages, his mom and dad bought him a Fender Jaguar, like a 60-something, 69 model or something. I mean, really cool guitar, Fender. And so Staten, so we kind of grew up, went to grade school and junior high, and Staten was always playing guitar. And so then we got, I believe it might have been late junior high. It was either late junior high or early high school. I'm going to say it was late junior high, because by the time we got to high school, we were already thinking about forming our band. So I think I must have already been playing maybe in 8th or 9th grade. So I think I told my mom that I wanted a guitar. And so for Christmas of either, I don't know, 78, 77, 78, 76, I don't know. I'll have to look on the back of that picture. There's a picture of me playing, holding up my red Kalamazoo. Now, I didn't know at the time, but Kalamazoo was an off-brand of Gibson, and it was kind of like a starter brand. And so, and it was, the guitar that I got was like, you know, it looked brand new. I'm sure it was used, but it was in great shape and looked kind of like a Fender Mustang or a Fender Stratocaster a little bit, probably more like a Mustang. And but that was what, so that Christmas, whichever there in the late 70s, whatever it was, my mom bought me a Kalamazoo electric guitar. Came with a really thin, flimsy little case, but it also came with this little black Kalamazoo amplifier. And so that's what I started on. So I started, you know, Staten would teach me a little bit, and then I bought some song books so I could learn some 70s songs. I think one was called Platinum Songs of the 70s or something. So it had like Stairway to Heaven and Hotel California and all of the big 70s hits in it. So I used that to learn on. And like I say, Staten and I think we're thinking about maybe it would be cool to eventually form a band. So the picture that goes along with this blog post on curtistucker.com is me standing there with that Kalamazoo. What's interesting is while doing a little bit of research for this podcast, I got a wild hair and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to find, because I took it all apart and, you know, I think I eventually sold it in pieces at a garage sale if it didn't get thrown away. I mean, I had it all taken apart and everything because I'd gotten a different guitar. But I was looking for these red Kalamazoos online, and they are very, very hard to find. And the two that I found online, I think they might have been like on eBay, that were in pretty good shape. One was $1,600 and I think one was $2,200. And I'm sure I would be surprised if my mom spent over $75 on that guitar when she bought it for me. But I don't want to spend $1,600. So I'm not, unless I find a really cheap one. If anybody knows, there's powder blue and red, and then there's some with dual pickups and some with single pickup, and mine was the dual pickup without the whatever that wanger thingy is, that it didn't have that on there. Yeah, I can't even think of what that's called at this moment. But anyway, red dual pickup Kalamazoo electric guitar. If you guys know where one is, let me know. I might be willing to buy it, but not for $1,600. So anyway, so I started out with a Kalamazoo, and then we got into high school, and I met Alan Goodson, and he played bass, and so we kind of started talking like, hey, we ought to form a band. And then he knew Kyle Sherm, who played drums, and so before you know it, we had a little band going. And then Todd sang and wanted to play keyboard, so he bought a Rode keyboard, and then I upgraded and I bought so again, my Kalamazoo looked kind of like a Fender type guitar, and Staten had a Fender, but for some reason, because of Boston and some of the other big bands in the 70s, I was kind of a big Les Paul fan. And so checking into the Gibson Les Pauls, they were running, you know, $800, $1,000. And of course, being a high school student without a full-time job, I didn't have enough money to buy a Gibson Les Paul, which I wish I had, but I didn't. And so went to the guitar store, and they had Les Paul copies, and one of the major brands was Ventura. And so they had a black Ventura Les Paul copy, that I set my sights on, and that was cool back in the 70s because they had layaway. So I plunked some money down. It was $450. I think I plunked $100 down, and he would let me come by anytime I wanted and play it. And then, but it wasn't until I paid it off that I could take it home. And then I think one birthday, my mom gave me the rest of the money, and so I bought the black, shiny Les Paul copy. And so we formed the band, and then I bought a huge custom, the K, custom spelled with a K, was the brand name amp, and it had like a head and then a huge speaker on it. I bought that from Eric Wright, and I mean, that was a monster amplifier. And it had the leather around it that was kind of tucked in. Can't remember what they call that, but it was a cool amplifier. So anyway, we had the band. It was definitely a garage band. We never played that much. I'm not super musically inclined, and so I never got hugely good. I mean, I can play the guitar. I can play, I know where the notes are and all that. I never put a lot of time and energy into trying to get really good at the guitar. So eventually, after the band broke up after high school, I think I eventually sold the Les Paul copy. And I think at some point I had an acoustic, and I think I sold the acoustic. And so I went through some years in college and after college with no guitar. I might have bought an acoustic at one point and then turned around and sold it after a while. But so then years later, we move into this house that I'm in now, recording right now. The first time that we lived here, my office was inside, not out here. And I had just started working for myself at home, and I was doing really well and making a lot of extra income. And I had this really cool, huge studio, and I thought it would be cool to have a guitar in the studio. Plus, I wanted to start playing again. And so I started looking at guitars, and of course I was looking at the Les Pauls, and for some reason at that point I had kind of switched, and Les Pauls are heavy, and I had started looking at, I'd seen a whole bunch of Stratocasters, and so I thought, wow, I kind of like those Stratocasters, Fender Stratocasters. And then there was also the Fender Telecasters. So both of those were super popular. There was the Fender Mustang, but the Stratocaster was kind of an upgrade on the Mustang. And so I kind of had fallen in love with the Stratocaster. And then one of the things that always really bothered me about the Telecaster was I always thought that the head on a Telecaster looked too small. I don't know, for being an artist and a designer, I just always thought the head on a Stratocaster is perfect, matches the body. Head on a Telecaster, it looks like somebody cut off a fourth of the head and shaved it down. So I was never, and as weird as that sounds, that was one of the big reasons I never was interested in Telecasters. So anyway, so I finally did end up buying a Stratocaster. Now, when you're buying guitars, there's the famous brand, and then the famous brand has like cheap level, mid-level, expensive, and then they also have kind of their starter, really cheap brand. And so for Fender, they have what they call Squire. So there was like a Squire Stratocaster, and then like Gibson, there's there's the Gibson Les Paul, but then there's also the Epson Les Paul, and it's still a Gibson, but it's just not the quality. And so the really expensive Fenders and Gibsons are made in the United States, and then kind of the next level are like made in Mexico, and then there's some made in Indonesia, and then probably the cheapest models are made in China. And so those are like the Fender Squires and the Gibson Epiphones. So anyway, so I ended up buying like a $1,200 Fender Stratocaster, American made, and then there's just so many different options. It's like buying a car or anything. You just, once you get into it, there's like option after option after option, and those different options can cause the price to be completely different. So anyway, so trying to decide on the perfect Stratocaster, of course, being a fan of retro and the 50s, 60s, and 70s, I settled on a sea foam green Stratocaster with a maple neck and a maple fretboard. I really love the maple. I like the look of a white neck. And so, and you know, my black Les Paul copy had a darker wood fretboard, and actually the neck was actually black, so you couldn't even see the wood. And so, but on this Stratocaster, the neck was maple, and then the fretboard was maple, so it was all blonde wood and looked really cool. So fell in love with that, and I bought that, and so that's just kind of what I plunked around on, and then eventually I was like, I don't always want to have to be plugged into an amplifier to play, so I ended up buying a acoustic, which was the Jasmine by Takamine, and it's a acoustic electric, and so it's always fun to pick up because you don't have to have an amplifier. And when I bought the Fender Stratocaster, I bought two little Fender amplifiers that actually can be run on 9-volt nine volt batteries. You can put little 9 volts in them. And so, because I wasn't in a band and I didn't really need a big amplifier. So I've had the Stratocaster and the acoustic for quite a while now, actually since we lived in here the first time, and I've hung on to them. And then about 2 years ago, so now we're going to get into the whole collecting thing really quick. What I'm finding out is what each of us collects. You know, it's like I think each one of us hones in on something that we start buying, and we don't really need more of them, but we always buy more of them. So I've got like now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 metal lunch boxes. I don't need 6 old 70s metal lunch boxes, but now I have 6 of them. Now that's not really something I collect. I don't really have a huge collection of anything. I've got like a great, cool little collection of comic books. I've got a cool collection of metal lunch pails. I've got a cool collection of guitars. I've got a cool collection of vinyl albums, but I don't have like a collection of like hundreds or thousands of anything. I kind of keep my collection smaller, but what I'm learning is, you know, when my mom passed away about 2 years ago, she had her collections of things, and unfortunately what you learn is your kids don't want your collections, no matter how cool you think they are. And so that's part of this podcast, is beware of the stuff that you're collecting, because, and make sure your kids know if there's something of value, because they may not want your collection, and if they don't want it, it may end up in a garage sale or a thrift store for, you know, not as much money as it's worth. So be careful. Make sure your kids know if you are collecting something that it is valuable. So anyway, I went years and years and years with these 2 guitars, an electric and an acoustic, and then, as I was saying, then my mom passed away, and for some reason I just got this itch that I needed another guitar, and it's kind of one of those deals where when I have it, I don't want it as bad as until I don't have it. So when I had a Les Paul, I was okay, a Les Paul copy, I was okay, but I kind of started yearning for a Fender Stratocaster. Well, when I got the Fender Stratocaster and I had it for years and years and years, all of a sudden I started getting the itch for a Les Paul. So I started looking at Gibson Les Pauls, and of course, you know, if you want to get a good one, it's going to be American made, and it's going to run $1,200 or higher, usually a lot more. But then there are some lower brands, like I said, some Mexican made, and then there's the Epiphone, which is still Gibson, but it's like they're made, you know, they're just made a little bit cheaper here and there, and all that. So talking to Christopher Todd about it, I think he has a Gibson Epiphone Les Paul, and he said, you know, you're going to be happy with it, just buy one of those. And they were running about $450, whereas the American-made Les Pauls are running, like I say, over $1,000. So I found, and for some reason, I was looking at all kinds of different colored ones and everything, but I kind of fell in love with, they had just come out with this flat black one, and I wasn't really looking for a black one. Of course, that's what I had before, but the one that they came out with that I saw, that was, again, it's flat black. It's not shiny. I'd kind of gotten over the whole shiny thing, and I kind of wanted a guitar. I was even thinking about relicking my Fender Stratocaster, which I kind of started roughing it up a little bit, not to any degree where you can really tell, but I kind of had that urge to get a relic. Well, instead of getting a relic, I got the flat black Epiphone Gibson Les Paul. And so, and I basically, my mom had left a whole bunch of change that she had been collecting, and so I spent, it came to like $400, and so I spent that change on buying a Les Paul. So now I have a Gibson Epiphone Les Paul, a Fender American-made Stratocaster, and my Jasmine Takamine acoustic. So, so 2 years go by, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm playing a little bit here and there because now I've got kind of an assortment of guitars. And you know, if you know anybody that's super rich, they probably own a lot of cars or more than one car. And it's kind of like, you know, if you have the money and you run into a car that you really like, you buy it. Even though you're not going to drive it a lot, it's kind of cool to have there for the few times that you want to drive it. Well, that's kind of the way I am, I think, with guitars. Even though I don't play guitar a lot, I'm not in a band, I need to really brush up on my skills. Sometimes when I see a guitar, I'm like, oh, that would be cool to have, but I normally don't buy them. But several months ago, I was watching, so a bunch of us have gotten into documentaries, and we've started watching a lot of different documentaries, and then we kind of get with each other and we talk about the documentaries. And so there was a documentary called Norman's Rare Guitars, and it's about Norman's Rare Guitar shop in right around Los Angeles, where most people, famous musicians, movie stars, people go to find the coolest vintage guitars, because he finds them and collects them, and basically, you know, super famous guitars. And so I watched that, and had a lot of Joe Bonamassa was on there, and it was just really cool, all the guitars that they were showing and picking up, and a lot of Stratocasters, a lot of Les Pauls, a lot of Telecasters, a few Jaguar, you know, saw a Jaguar here and there, and Staten still got his Jaguar. And so, I don't know, I started to get this itch that I might want a new guitar. And so there was, and so I'm gonna try not to spoil the unboxing by telling you too much about what I got. So you'll see what I got when I unbox, and then we'll go from there. So maybe this will be a good point to show you real quick the guitars that I currently have. So that is my Fender Stratocaster, and it's in the seafoam green. And then there is my Epiphone Les Paul, and it's in a flat, I don't know if you can really tell, it's in a flat finish. And then over here is my Takamine acoustic. It's a electric acoustic. And so those are my three guitars that I have now. And then after watching this special, I kind of got the itch for buying another guitar. And then I also started a new Facebook account and started following some people, and some of the people in those videos were playing these guitars, and I kept seeing this one guitar over and over and over again that I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And so so what I'm going to do, I think, is right here, so I can get in and tell you a little more about the guitar that I got. Without spoiling it, I'm going to do the unboxing now, and then we'll get into why I got it. So I'm going to kind of, I had unboxed it, I don't know, a month or two ago, and I'm just now finishing up all of the dialogue and stuff on this podcast. So again, if you're only listening to this, you might want to go watch. And so if you've never seen an unboxing, it's not super exciting, this one, but here is the unboxing of my new guitar. Again, hopefully my microphones were low on battery. I hadn't plugged them in a while, so they are pretty low. Got a little instruction thing there. Some packing stuff here, so I'll kind of describe. So if you're not watching the video, I'll kind of describe. So there's just extra cardboard in there to keep the guitar safe during shipping. So I've got the head here. I'm going to pull it out of the box, and it is wrapped in that white packing stuff. There, I can kind of see it. I don't think there's going to be anything else in the box. So here it is. Can you guys see? You guys see that? Let me make sure I've still got, is it still going? I still got speaker. Oh man, just barely. Barely. Hopefully the sound doesn't go out. Okay. Rubber band here. Are you guys ready? The big reveal. There, oh my goodness, there it is. Ta-da! Wow. That is pretty dang cool looking. There we go. Wow, and it doesn't feel too bad. It actually feels better. The frets actually feel better than on the Gibson Epiphone did. So I don't know that I'm going to have to do too much filing on that. What do you guys think? Is it? Let me see. Oh yeah, I think that's going to look really good with my Stratocaster. So flip this around. I think I still have a little bit of power. So there you go. There's my electric trio. The old Telecaster, and like I say, it is a Squier Telecaster. I really like that color. I'm gonna have to figure out what that color is, but there you go. So and another reason that I went with that color and that style, let me go back and show you the guitar, is because it's very paintable. I can even paint the pick guard if I need to. Okay, so I'm back, I hope. So now you know that I bought a light blue Telecaster. Why did I get a Telecaster after I complained about not liking the head? Well, the reason is because of Norman's Rare Guitars. They kept showing Telecasters. And then there was people on my Facebook feed, and it's like everybody was playing a Telecaster. And then there was this one lady that paints a lot of, she'll buy cheap guitars, and then she kind of fixes them up and paints them these really wild pop art looking designs. And a majority of them are Telecasters. they're not like Fender Telecasters, but they're off-brand Telecasters. So anyway, so in my mind, I thought, you know what would be one of the coolest guitars ever would be a Telecaster body with a Stratocaster neck and head. And so I thought, wow, I wonder if anybody, if they've ever sold that. So I did some searching and come to find out there is such a beast as a Telecaster with a Stratocaster look to the head and the neck. And it's kind of like a, I can't remember, it's like a deluxe something. And the pick guard is a little bit different than an average Telecaster. And then I also found out that somebody, Eric Clapton maybe, somebody actually takes the neck and head off of a Stratocaster and puts it on a Telecaster. So then I started searching, then I went down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos, and there are a lot of people that take Telecaster bodies and put Stratocaster necks and heads on them. And so I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you keep going deeper and deeper, and then you find out that almost everybody that buys a Telecaster, the minute they get it, they completely customize it. They change the bridge and the pickups and I mean, it's just crazy what people do. It's like almost nobody just buys a Telecaster and leaves it like it is. So anyway, so I got this itch to buy a Telecaster, thinking, like my surfboard, that maybe eventually I could do some art on it and eventually maybe turn around and sell it. So I got to looking at Telecasters, and I fell in love with this Cherry Starburst Telecaster. I don't think they make it anymore. It was made, I think, in the 90s. There's a lot of used ones out there in good shape, and they were all running between $1,400 and $1,600. And they're American made, Fender. And so I got to looking at those, and I got to looking at all Telecasters, but I kept going back to that one. I kept going back to that Cherry Starburst. And then I got to thinking, you know, if I'm going to sticker it, or if I'm going to paint it, or if I'm going to put markers on it, if I'm going to do anything to it, it can't be Starburst, because it just, you know, it needs to be more plain looking. And then there's a lot of wood, just wood grain Telecasters out there. And I thought, well, maybe, you know, if I buy like a $600 just plain Fender Telecaster. And so I started looking at those, and I mean, I just kept going down rabbit holes and rabbit holes and rabbit holes. And then I like woke up and I was like, no, I don't play these. This could be an art piece. I don't need to spend a lot of money on it. And so I started looking at the Fender Squiers. And again, like the Epiphone, the Squiers are kind of the off-brand, but the cheaper version, the beginner version. And I found that even with Squiers, there are, you know, higher end Squiers and lower end Squiers. And like the lower end ones are made in China. Then there's some made in Indonesia, and then some made, I believe, in Mexico. And so, so I got online and I started looking, and I found the one that you guys saw. I found it online, and it said web only exclusive, and it was that blue. And I thought, wow, I really like that blue. One of my favorite colors now. As a kid, I love the color green, but as far as to buy things and wear them and use things, I like the color of light blue. I like light blue things. And so that Telecaster, I thought, I really like that light blue. And it was online, and it was $199. And I'm like, $199? You know, sometimes we go out and eat, and when you get drinks, I spend $199 on a meal. So buying a $199 Telecaster and possibly painting it is not really going to be that big a deal. And so I settled on that blue. And I mean, I searched and I searched and I searched, and I could not find anywhere in the description anywhere that told me what that was. And so I had no idea what the color was called, but I knew I liked that color. So anyway, so I went ahead and I ordered before I changed my mind again and went back to the $1,400 Telecaster, I bought the $199 Squier Telecaster. And then I thought, okay, if I come into some money, I can still buy the $1,400 Telecaster if I want. But anyway, so you guys saw the unboxing. I got it, and I actually really like the Telecaster. It actually almost feels a little better playing it than the Stratocaster and the Les Paul. I really like my Stratocaster, but the Telecaster is pretty cool. And so I'm not going to do anything crazy. It is a dark wood fretboard, which there were some decent Telecasters that had the maple looking fretboard, but it was that blue. I thought, let me get that blue. It's something I could paint. It matches it's in the style of my Stratocaster, and it kind of matches my surfboard. It goes with my theme. It goes with my retro theme. And then check this out. So the name of this podcast is Zoinkies, which has to do with Scooby-Doo. I like all the 70s stuff. Come to find out, the name of the color of the Telecaster is Daphne Blue. Well, Daphne is on Scooby-Doo, so it was meant to be. So I have a Daphne Blue Telecaster, and I've been playing the heck out of it, trying to relearn and get my fingers going and all that stuff. And so that is the story of me buying another guitar. So now I can't imagine that there is another guitar that I would want. But of course, like anything, like these, I keep getting metal lunchboxes popping up on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't need another one, but boy, wouldn't it be cool to have Land of the Lost or the Partridge Family, but I have since kind of stopped buying lunch pails. I've actually stopped buying vinyl records. I think I've got the collection that I want, and I may be the point where I buy one or two a year now, but I've got the collection that I feel like I had back in the 70s. And so that's kind of the way I'm feeling with my electric guitars. Nobody in my family plays, so if something happens to me, they're going to have these guitars. And so I'm still thinking about, I really like the plainness and the Daphne Blue, but I may end up painting or modifying the Telecaster, and if I make a piece of art out of it, then I will sell it. And at $199, I can quickly buy another one and do something else with it. So let me know if you guys have some ideas or something, like something you might want to see. I've always wanted to sticker something. If you don't know what stickering is, it's basically just getting stickers and covering something completely with stickers, but doing it in an artistic, thoughtful way where it looks, kind of cool. And so, so there's always the thought of stickering a surfboard or a guitar. I've still got my markers. They would have to be permanent. I don't want to do anything that could be rubbed off really easy or come off really easy. So I'm gonna have to figure out what paints that you would use on a guitar. I don't know if you have to. I may have to take the shine off of it. I don't know. So I don't know. I may not do anything to it. I may just keep it and play it and have 4 guitars. So fingers crossed that I don't buy any more guitars. Unless I think of something artistic to do, and then it might be kind of fun to start buying up old used guitars and doing something artsy with them. So again, let me know if there's some idea out there so if you guys, especially everybody out there that does not play guitar but thinks it's cool to have a guitar in your office or your studio or your man cave, like hanging on the wall, what would be cool to have on a guitar that you guys would maybe want, pay for to hang on your wall? Give me your ideas. And also let me know what you guys are collecting. I mean, I know Dave collects 70s stuff. He does some comic books. And Philip over in Arkansas, he collects lunch pails. And And so that, again, I can't think of anything that I'm really into so much that I've got a huge collection. I basically, I'm able to control myself I get to a certain point and then I stop. And so that's what I've done with all the other things. Oh, and I haven't mentioned that I did go buy an orange crate amp. So I can crank out the tunes with my electric guitars now. And one of these days, and when we had our band back in high school, I wrote several of the songs that we played, the original songs. So I don't know how to read music. I mean, I know, if I stare at the notes, I can tell you, where they are, but I can't like glance at music and know how to play. So I can't read music. I can't hear a note and tell you what the note is. Like I said, I'm not super musically inclined, but I like writing songs. I like coming up with lyrics. I like coming up with licks and intros to songs. And that's usually what I do. I'd come up with kind of an intro to a song, and then like maybe the first, boy, right out of my mind, the first, and then the rest of the band would finish the song and verses, the first verse, and then the other guys would write the other verses. And so that was always cool. But anyway, it might be kind of cool to write a couple of songs now and see how they sound. So I'll let you guys know. I know Christopher Todd is recording, writing songs and recording a new album, which I think you guys are really going to like. I can't wait to hear it, but I may get with him. Might be kind of cool to get with Todd and Staten and Christopher Todd and come up with some songs. I am going to need some songs when I finally write the book, which is turned into a movie for the Banana Seat Squad. I keep thinking I've got to probably come up with the lyrics for that theme song. So that'll be fun. So at least now I have the guitars to do it. So if anybody wants to start a band, if you're in Enid, Oklahoma, and you want to start a band, I'm kidding, but no, it might be kind of fun to jam. I need to brush up on playing. I don't play enough. I don't know any song. That's one of my problems, is I don't know any songs, so I can't really play anything. I just play chords and notes, and I need to start picking out some songs and all that. And anyway, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the unboxing of my new Daphne Blue Squire Telecaster. You guys, thanks for checking in. Give me some ideas for some upcoming episodes. I hope you found this one groovy. If you guys are like semi-interested in guitars, but you've never bought a guitar, I would suggest buying an Epiphone, Les Paul, or a Squire Telecaster or Stratocaster, and they're cheap. And you can get started and kind of plunk around, and then if you really get better and get into it, then you can always upgrade to the more expensive models. But anyway, if you need any advice there, give me a holler. If I can't answer it, I will find somebody that can. Appreciate you guys listening. Again, if you're listening to the podcast only, don't forget to go to youtube.com/Curtis Tucker, or go to curtistucker.com, and I will embed the video and the podcast there on the episode, and it will be the episode that has me on the cover holding my old red Kalamazoo. And if you ever run across a red Kalamazoo electric guitar, let me know. Might buy it from you, and may get online again and see if I can find any cheaper versions. But anyway, appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you guys soon. See ya!